Welcome everyone to this presentation, Built to Grow, a real-world growth plan for small firms, law firms who refuse to play small. With me is my guest, Mike Morse, founder of the Mike Morse Law Firm and Fireproof Coaching. I'm Corey Vandenberg with Clixsy. And what we were hoping to do on today's call is have a candid conversation between myself and Mike and those of you who are here about the things that you're facing in your market that might be real or perceived obstacles to growing. And just to set this conversation up a little with a little bit of context, Mike was here in Salt Lake City recently for a conference, and he had asked if we could find an epic hike. And so I said, yeah, I've got one for you. And during that hike, we were talking about business, talking about clients and how things are going. And I had just the day before, I had a client who texted me with a concern that was on his mind. And the basic question was around some competition. He had a big national firm moving into his market. And I know, Mike, you've personally faced this issue as well. So I knew you would have some ideas about what to do and what they ought to be thinking about. And but before I ask you that specific question, this photo from our hike also evoked an earlier conversation when we were talking about long-term goals. Like, what are you trying to accomplish in your firm? And Mike, you said to me, one of your favorite things is to be able to get up and just go hike wherever you want, fly wherever you want, and have that type of freedom.
Well, hike wherever I want, work on whatever I want, work on a case, try a case. I'm curious if anybody on this chat knows where this hike is. And if they answer correctly, they'll win a prize from me directly. So anybody want to take a guess where this hike is? I actually don't know if I can see the chat. Anybody want to take a guess?
A mountain.
A mountain. Yeah, that's good. That's good. It's a mountain. Utah is correct. Do you know the name of this hike or the city? All right, I'll let you guys think about that for a minute. Hiking is my favorite thing to do. Traveling is my favorite thing to do. I have an abundance mindset. I work a lot on my mindset, and my goal set many, many years ago, my sweet spot was to just work on things that I love to work on and things that I'm great at. My overarching North Star. I made it a few years ago to do that. I'm now coaching law firms to get there, and it's amazing. When you have this abundance mindset, this growth mindset, when you are, yes, Nick Paul wins a prize. Nice job. Hard as heck, that hike. 2,800 feet straight up, 7 miles, amazing. When we coach our firms on the pillars of fireproof, and when these big firms come into the market, one of the analogies is basically we're teaching firms to grow some deep roots in their market. And when the storm comes in, whether it's Morgan and Morgan or an actual fire or hurricane or flood, if your firm has deep roots, you're not going to fear the storm. And Morgan & Morgan is absolutely a storm coming into the markets. They came to Detroit a few years ago. Of course, takes your breath away for half a second. But then when you realize you are fireproof, nothing bad happens. In fact, we've been signing up more cases. We've been busier than ever. Our numbers are going through the roof. And that's what happens when new competitors come into your market. So you have to have a good mindset. You have to be ready. You have to stay the course. And good things happen. So, we have, out of our 100 fireproof clients, there's some big national firms in most. Top Dog came to our market recently. Massive opportunity. Great things have happened. It's just, I don't know, it's a different mindset. A lot of people call me and they're scared. They have people coming into the market. They're always looking over their shoulder at their competitors. I don't believe in doing that. I've never looked at my competitors' commercials. I've never worried about their spend. I've never worried about how many billboards or things that they're doing in my market. And that's what I encourage uh, my people to do. And they've reported after 2, 3 years of hearing me say it that only good things are happening. Fear is not one of the things that we worry about because it's outside of your control, right? When these people come into your market, it's outside of your control. All you can do is focus on what's in control, and that's how you react. So
Amen.
that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that's great. Just so everyone knows, Mike and I both have some content that we've prepared that we think will be valuable for you, but we also wanted to be able to be responsive to the things that are actually on your mind right now. What are some of the concerns that you might be seeing as causing a roadblock to your growth in your firm? I'd love to see some questions in the chat. Just what
Yeah, or statement says what's driving you crazy right now? What are you scared about? What are you worried about? Just everybody type in 1 or 2 words. What value can we provide you today and help you with? Don't be shy. I think people are shy. I'm worried about AI and why isn't it fully present in my firm right now and it's driving me crazy. So I would type in AI
I
if I could.
I am also like I would say AI and how it's affecting SEO is at the top of my list, and I probably spend 40% of my week right now just devouring content about where things are headed. Nicole says getting correct traffic to our firm.
Yep.
Nick Paul says AI agents. That's an interesting topic. I know, Mike, with your firm, I know they're doing a lot with AI agents as it relates to evaluating the case, kind of presenting angles on how to attack it, whether to litigate it or not.
Yeah, we're experimenting with everything. I actually listened to an AI podcast on how to set up an agent yesterday for 40 minutes on my walk. It was amazing. Randolph standing out from the competition. We call that Cherry Garcia versus vanilla. I'm going to get into that today, helping you stand out from your competition. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, one of my specialties. For the other 25 people who didn't respond, I don't know why, but if you want us to address your stuff, feel free to respond to in the chat. Crazy Rambo defense attorneys. We could talk about that too. So, all right. So how do you want to
So let's,
you want to
yeah,
remove the moose? And we were 15 feet from that crazy moose right there. Corey's taking video of it kind of weirdly. He didn't get eaten or stomped on, but Lake Blanche, if you're in Park City, Salt Lake City area, do that hike. Why don't we move on to the to part of the the PowerPoint. So I gave a speech a couple months ago in Salt Lake City about disruption, and I've had some major disruptors in my firm from, my dad dying when I was in law school, getting fired from my first job, having my biggest referral source um, kick me to the curb when I had 30 employees, getting 1,000 cases a year. One of my biggest disruptors was our fire, which happened in 2007. And what came out of the fire was innovation. Number one was a couple things. First, I learned how to delegate. I became the best. Next slide, Savannah. I became the best delegator that you'll ever meet. Basically, I delegated myself out of a job up until a year ago when I decided it was time for me to try a case again. after 15-year hiatus. But in my opinion, when I gave this talk in Salt Lake, they were like, "What makes your firm so good, Michael? Why are you so successful?" And I was in the name of the conference was Disrupt. And I was thinking about all of these things that I've been disrupted, and then great things happen from all the disruptions, right? Because somebody comes in your market, great things can happen. Um, Figuring out, meeting new vendors, great things could happen. When I met Corey at a conference 5, 6 years ago, I thought my website was good and my firm was bringing in cases, and then he showed me on a platform where I ranked with all the people in my market, and it wasn't so good. And so I hired Corey to redo our website, to manage our SEO, to manage all the traffic coming into my firm or not coming into my firm, and teach me where it's going. And with his help, we are now number one in our market. We have opened, with his help, 10 different locations, satellite offices, which is helping bring in cases from all over my market. It's a strategy that not many people employ. Literally going out there and getting offices and doing it right, so you don't go to Google jail. But we've done all that, and we're getting 1,000 calls a week, and we're killing it. So thank you, Corey, for that. Um, Delegating all of that kind of stuff, delegating the SEO, delegating the website build outs. Can I afford to have somebody come in my firm? We've built a firm we have 250 employees. We're going to do 300 million in settlements this year in 2025. We could afford to bring it in house, but I like to use experts outside of my house. And that's why we use folks like Clixsy, and I have probably 30 other vendors that we use. My CMO Trudy meets with Corey and his team every week. They talk about what's working, what's not working, strategies, goals, and our numbers just keep going up and up and up. What I would say to all of you as you're thinking about your goals, I would ask you guys to set some goals in your life. Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? Because you just kind of need to know. One of my goals was to be in that upper left box that had that circle around it, right? I wanted to only work on things that I love to do and only work on things that I'm great at. When I first heard that from my coach, Gino Wickman, who wrote Traction and a bunch of other books, I thought that was just kind of pie in the sky. And as we started going down this rabbit hole, he said to me, "Look, Michael, one day you're going to have a client come into your firm that you're never going to meet. You're going to have somebody else work on the case. At the end of the case, the check's going to come in, and you're never going to meet that person." And I told him that I thought he was, what was he smoking? And that within several years, that turned into reality. And that's my reality right now, is that we're signing up thousands of people a year, and I'm meeting, a handful of them. They're getting great service, all by lawyers and paralegals who I trained, and it's just wonderful. So if you're looking to grow your firm, if you're looking to scale, if you're looking to stand out, and have the room to do these things, have the room to deal with all of the craziness that happens in these law firms, you got to deal with the stuff that's in the other three quadrants. So you could take a picture, a screenshot of this thing, leave it on your desk for a week and fill it out. And everything that you guys put under like and good and don't like and good and don't like and not good, you want to figure out how to refer those to somebody else at your firm, delegate them. And then once you do, you're going to have 50, 60% of your time back. And you get to decide what you're going to do with that time. Also, out of that fire, I decided that in order to build my law firm back up, I had to rebuild the building. I had to hire a COO. I had to hire a number two. So I went out to the market. I found John Knockhazel, who's in this picture right here. And John came on. There's a kind of a famous story between John and I in the book Rocket Fuel, written by Gino Wickman, talking about our relationship. That's a great book if you're thinking about bringing on a number two. If you have a number two and your relationship isn't great, read Rocket Fuel. So John and I are in this book. I needed John to be able to delegate and carry out all of the tasks that I didn't want to do. There's a story in the book where I gave him a list of 88 items. And I said, "This is your job description for the foreseeable future. These are things that I need to do. I don't want to do. I don't know how to do. I can't get done. I don't like to do." And he looked at the list and said, "Okay, this is my go-to list." He did all of those things. And then I kept giving him more and more and more. And now he's obviously runs my firm on a day-to-day basis, and he's amazing. So that was the second disruption. The first, learning how to become a great delegator, and second was hiring a COO. Next slide. John also taught me about data. Before I met John, my Jumbotron looked like this. Yes, an intentional black screen for all of you who don't have Jumbotrons and know your data. That is how I ran my firm for many, many years. I did not know how much money was in the bank. I didn't know how much I was making. I didn't know if I could afford this or that or the other thing. And the Jumbotrons are super important. This screen I took a couple years ago at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena when Michigan was playing Alabama. And, you look at the screen and you think to yourself, why do we have Jumbotrons? Well, the coaches and the players need these Jumbotrons to win the game. They have to see how many seconds are left on the clock, what the score is, how many yards do you need for the first down, etc. And without knowing the data, they cannot win the game. Michigan, Alabama could not win the game. Michigan, of course, won that game, went on to win the national championship, but it's because of the data. Without it, you can't win the game. So what we do at the Mike Morse Law Firm is we have robust Jumbotrons, we have robust forecasting, and it is, one of our superpowers. Obviously, we work with our clients in fireproof coaching and masterminds and teach them how to set up Jumbotrons. We do it for them if they can't do it themselves. And we also forecast. I want to spend a minute or two on forecasting because it's one of our, it's a super strength. It's a something that we encourage everybody to do and our fireproof firms are doing. But basically, based upon the cases you have, the averages, the fees that you guys have, the average fees, you could figure out how much money you're going to make at the end of the year. And many of you think that that's BS and think it's impossible, because I was one of those people. I never thought that that was a possibility. I never thought that that was that you could do that until for 18 years in a row, John has been teaching me about forecasting. Next slide. In 2016, many years ago, this is in the book, Fireproof, John predicted that we were going to do 160 million in revenue on January 1st. On December 31st at 4 p.m., this is the number that we came in at, 160 million, 1,788. He was that close in particular on January 1st to the end of the year. He has now done this 18 years in a row. We have done this for over 100 law firms, and it's possible. So I'm not going to teach you how to do that right now, but if you don't forecast and you don't know what you're going to be doing this year, or at least setting great goals based upon the numbers, you're missing out, because there is zero stress associated with this once you know what you're going to do. So on January 1st, Corey, they tell me, Michael, you're going to make X dollars and the firm's going to bring in this many dollars no matter what. If I lose an employee, if I lose a trial, if I lose a case, if the economy goes well, if the economy goes bad, if there's COVID, if there's a tornado, whatever there is, my numbers are going to stay for lots of reasons, right? These cases that settled that year, I signed up 2 to 3 years before. Us as lawyers, you don't sign up a case today and settle it in a week or two. It's a 1.5 to 2 year runway.
What's interesting to me is I see this sort of in the broader context of like that earlier conversation I mentioned with my client who said, hey, we got a big national firm coming into our market. And I think what I'm hearing from you is really that's just one of 100 different things that you could face. And yet it comes back to these core principles that have allowed you to sort of put down like deep roots, like an oak tree.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that why we don't fear the storm, Corey. I mean, you've never, in the years you've known me, have you and I ever gotten on a call and me be panicked or scared about anything?
Not a single time.
And so it's just, it's confidence, of course, but it's, I just, I've been doing this for such a long time. I mean, my dad was a personal injury lawyer back in the 70s, and I remember sitting at the kitchen table and him saying, I don't know if I'm ever going to sign up another case.
Mm.
And there was fear there. And his firm was not huge, probably 100, 200 cases, maybe. And he just didn't have that confidence about when those cases were going to come in. And even when I started advertising, putting up a couple billboards, I didn't know it was going to work until it worked. And then you do something else and that works. And you do something else and that doesn't work. And you pull back, and you find your rhythm. The cases start coming in and you start standing out from the competition because you learn how to be Cherry Garcia and be a little different. We're going to talk about those things towards the end of this slide deck. Next disruption, I don't remember what it was. What is it, Savannah? So I was getting, that's an 800-pound gorilla in a suit. I was getting a couple thousand cases a year from a law firm in my town back in the 2000s, making millions of dollars, bringing in millions of dollars, doing a great job for his clients. And one day, it was actually May of 2011, after 10 plus years of getting these cases, he came to my office and basically fired me and said, we're not giving you any more cases. And he was allowed to do that, of course. What did I do? I panicked. I wanted to cry. I remember just like thinking, do I have to start firing people today? John went, looked at the numbers and said, no, we're not going to lay anybody off. We're going to find our Cherry Garcia and compete with that 800-pound gorilla. So this is what came out of it. Oh, I see they put a new picture in there. So 855 Mike Wins was born. Got the phone number, started branding. Before that time, nobody in Detroit knew who I was. One of my goals that I set that year with my executive team, leadership team, was to make the Mike Morse Law Firm a household name within 1 year. So every decision I made throughout that year, whatever it was thinking about that. I needed people in Detroit to know who I was. So how was I going to do that? You need to find your inner Cherry Garcia. Hopefully you all understand what that means, right? Cherry Garcia, when I say the word, hopefully you know you can taste it. You could see the cherry ice cream. You could see the chocolate chunks. You could see the cherries in the ice cream, and you could feel it. That's different. It's a different type of ice cream. Everybody in your markets, I don't care where you guys all are right now, they're running crappy injury law firm ads. They make you cringe. They make you embarrass your lawyer. All over my market, that's what it was. So I thought to myself, how am I going to stand out? They're spending $30 million a year in Detroit. I don't have millions of dollars to, I was young and I was, I think, 40-ish, and I didn't have all that money saved up, but I did go into my savings and I said, how am I going to stand out? How am I going to be different? How am I going to stand out from the competition? So I took it and I looked at my competition and I said, they're boring. I'm fun. Ask anybody in my law firm, I'm fun. They're arrogant. I love to make fun of myself. They're intimidating. We're approachable. They're mean, and we are the good guys. They're bullies. We stand up to the bullies. They're greedy. We give back to our community in a big way, and we'll talk about that. And I think that my competitors' ads are negative or were negative, and we are trying to be uplifting. We're trying to be funny and self-deprecating, deprecating. I bring my mom into the commercials, almost every commercial. I bring my dog into some commercials. I make it fun and different. And we took over our market. I spend less than the biggest spender in my market, and I believe we probably get just as many calls as they do. And people, if you come to Detroit, I've heard this from 30 people, and you ask a Uber driver, who would you call if you're in an accident? 8 out of 10 times it's me, they mentioned. So that's a good thing. That's good anecdotal evidence. What's the next slide? Okay, this is one of our first commercials. We put this on the Super Bowl in Detroit. 10
Hey,
years ago to this day, people still say it's our best commercial.
while we're waiting for this to queue up, there's a question about whether you used a branding agency or an outside firm to find that Cherry Garcia.
It's a great question, really great question. At the beginning, it was just me. And then I found a creative team to help me create these ads. He is mentioned in my book, and now he's doing it in 13 or 14 different states. Law firms read my book, called him, and now he's doing amazing spots in other markets. But it's easier and easier these days to find, the difference, and look at firms that you want to emulate, and look at their social media, and look at what they're doing, and look at how they're standing out. If you follow my social media, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Facebook, it's night and day for my competition. Nobody in my market is giving back to the community. We're giving away 30,000 backpacks a year. We're doing 2 adoption events for dogs a year. We are giving back in many, many ways. And we have lots of different things, and the community knows it. When I'm walking around a Piston game or a Tigers game, they'll say, "Thanks for what you do in our community, Mike. And where's your mom?" Those are 2 things I hear every single day, wherever I go. We've tried to build my mom into being a bigger celebrity, or better well known than I am. So some of these spots that I'm going to show you real quick, just to give you a flavor of Cherry Garcia. You may not understand it because you don't know my mom and you haven't seen the commercials, but she is the star in the commercials. She's the star in my community. People literally say, I'll go into the room and say hi, their conference room. "Hey, thanks for hiring us. Why did you hire us?" "Well, if your mom likes you, then I know you're a good guy." And I'm like, and then I jokingly sometimes they'll say, "Oh, that's not my mom. She's an actress," and they go crazy. So, all right, can we run it? No volume. I do not hear it. Do you hear it, Corey?
No, I don't hear the audio.
Exclusive video of Mike Morse chasing an ambulance.
Mike Morse, no, there you go. Attorney Mike Morse actually
Just if you want an ambulance
Calls?
chaser, you might as well get one that can catch it.
Hey, man. You dropped your wallet.
So that kind of put us on the map with the people of Detroit. They absolutely love that commercial. And it shows that I'm a good guy, shows that not everything is as it seems, right? Lots of different subliminal messages in there. And our calls went up 30% the next day. Signed up lots and lots of good cases. And when you can advertise on something like the Super Bowl in your market, it's not millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's your market. You get so many different people seeing it. You get judges and defense attorneys and adjusters and doctors and people who don't watch TV see it. So that's why we decided to advertise in the Super Bowl, and we've been doing that for over 10, 11 years. Here's one more Cherry Garcia spot with my mom.
Oh, what are you wearing? What's with the hat and the sunglasses?
It's my fans.
Your fans.
Mike, you don't know what it's like to be me. Every time I go out, I get swarmed.
I don't know what it's like.
I'm trying to keep a low profile.
Mom, there's no one around. Take off the hat and the sunglasses.
Okay.
The volume's not working, but there's a big loud scream and whatever. So backpack distribution, just to answer that real quick, we do K through 5, 30,000 a year. And then after some time, people were calling us and saying, "What about my market? What about my city? We need them in our city too, not just Detroit." So now we're doing an event in our parking lot for the last 5, 6 years in August to have every community come to my parking lot, and I'll hand them a fresh backpack full of supplies. My name is not on the backpack, and it's an amazing thing. We are now in about 20 cities I don't make any money on it, obviously. I am giving away our logo for free. How we order the backpacks, you can have my pricing. If you put backpack in the chat, I will have my team send you the deck. It's a free deck for you to get the play-by-play on how to give backpacks in your community, use my logo, and order it from my supplier, and we will get it to you. And it's I we're almost there to talk about community initiatives, but there were a few questions at the beginning about how to
Yeah,
stand out from the competition, how to get the proper traffic to your firm. Guys, I mean, I don't know, Savannah, if you could find that, next slide, Savannah. No, that's just one of our ads. So here's some pictures from the dog bite event and the backpack event. All I can tell you guys is you can't give back to your community too much. You could start with 200 backpacks, 300 backpacks. That's exactly what I did. We're up to 30,000 backpacks a year. It's absolutely bonkers how many people thank me for the backpacks. I've been doing it for over 10 years. The kids are now driving. I didn't even think about that when I started this.
yeah.
So, and if you listen, I'm a dog lover. If you love dogs, I'm looking at my dog right over here. If you love dogs, you could do an adoption event. Call your humane society. How do you get involved? How can you help with the animals, whether it be donations, whether you have an adoption event? I love kids. I love dogs. And guess what? For Detroit, it worked. You walk around this community and ask people, what does Michael Morse stand for? They're going to tell you backpacks, dogs, his mom. What do you want to be known for in your community? And please hear me, because I know a lot of you guys are. Trudy, I see that you chimed in. I see a lot of people asking for backpacks. Trudy, why don't you put the deck for everybody on this, please? I didn't know you were on this call. Trudy's the one who I asked her to write this deck a long time ago. Um, and it's a step-by-step for you to do it. I don't need any credit. I don't need my name on it, but I beg you to do something in your community. Um, you want to become fireproof without paying any wages to be fireproof? Do
Yes.
something connected in your community. Set those roots so deep that everybody knows you're doing it. And when you can afford it, don't do it small, right? We started out with 300 backpacks. Now we're at 30,000. We started out with 50 dogs. I think we did 150 a month ago in June. It's the best feeling. I bring my kids, I bring my staff. I could spend an hour talking about the benefits of this, Corey. Please chime in.
I want to, yeah. So this might be the most cited thing that I bring up on my calls with my clients. And I'll tell you, I think that obviously the genuine nature of giving back is paramount, without question. However, I will also note that, there was an earlier question about how do we get the right traffic to our site? How do we get more visibility in Google? How do we be more visible in AI and AI overviews? And I will tell you that right now, I don't think there's a better hack than doing this type of thing in your community to influence Google and AI. Because what's happening right now in Google is it's shifting away from what you say about yourself and shifting to what other people say about you. And this single-handedly has driven you to over 4,000 reviews.
We
And
need to talk about reviews. You're right, Corey. You're right, dude. You're right. There's so many things we could talk about right here. And you've been a great partner in all of this because, I mean, look at you and I don't even talk about content anymore, right? Because it's just it's part of it. We are. I mean, it feels 5 years ago, but it's content, right? What are
yeah,
you going to talk about, everybody? What are you talking about? If I hear another video about the 5 best things to do after a car accident,
yeah.
I'm going to jump off my roof. So guess what I talk about? Backpacks and dogs and kids and my community and my mom. And yeah, of course we're doing great things. And I have a nice verdict that I got last year and things like that. And we talk about that too, but they know what I do. I'm taking a very different tactic than most, and it's working for me. And so you just, and some of you are saying, you know, I don't want to be on camera. I have fireproof clients. I'm not going to say his name. Great guy, great lawyer, great looking, almost better hair than I have. And he doesn't want to be on a billboard, or he doesn't want to be on TV, and he doesn't want to like be on social media. And I'm like, dude, that is a miss. Like you look the part, you look great. We need to get you out there talking about all these great things you're doing. But even if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it, you could hire a spokesman. You could have someone in your firm do it. And it's obviously evolving. You know, at the beginning of COVID, I was one of those idiots doing the dances with my kids and putting all that stuff out there, but it's evolved. And I think that you guys should all figure out how to get the attention you need in order to set those deep roots in your market and push out the competition.
I'd like to elaborate on that a little bit from the perspective of this question about getting the right traffic and how can some of these things inform your content strategy? Because you're right, Mike. The notion of content is king has everybody has a Chat GPT account now. Everybody can write 1,000 blog posts a week if they wanted to. And so the signal to noise ratio is off the charts right now. And what I find most appealing about that exercise you went through with Cherry Garcia is that each one of those things on the you have that Ben Franklin chart. Savannah, do you mind pulling up the slide 19? I suggest all the time to my clients that they do this exercise not merely for their ads on TV or their billboards, but you should be running your own, like your social media content, your email content, and your web content through this filter. You should be looking at it from the perspective of how can we stand out? Because the churned out blog post strategy is dead as a doornail now. And you've got to find a way to be able to make it unique and valuable. And in fact, recently there was a big SEO conference in New York called SEO Week, and they had some Google engineers that were in attendance, and they were asking them, like, what can we do beyond just the normal advice you typically give people of just create great content, which is just not useful at all. And they said, most importantly right now is focusing on making it unique. And what they were implying is you need to figure out how you can start digging into that Cherry Garcia aspect of what do you know that no one else knows? For example, draw from your individual cases. What are some insights you can derive? And then how do you sort of shape them using these differentiators?
I love that. I love that. And yeah, that could be, you know, about certain type of cases. If you have a niche, I don't have a great niche. I'm an auto, truck, motorcycle lawyer. Although weirdly, this morning at 11 a.m., I was on Fox News Detroit about a grooming case that we just filed in federal court where a teacher had sex with a 15-year-old, and it's breaking tonight at 5 o'clock. Not my niche, not first case. It's my first case like this, but media found out. I'm not sure if my team told them or it doesn't matter, but it's a big case, and I was able to talk hopefully semi-intelligently about it. And I was on TV about that. Nothing Cherry Garcia really about that, right? I'm not entertaining. I'm not talking about backpacks. So they also know that I'm a serious lawyer, getting big verdicts, doing great work, but I'm also a fun-loving family guy who loves my community, loves my mom, right? You guys have got to find the right mix. And I love what you said there, Corey, about, about finding your differentiators and standing out like that. And just to answer a couple questions that came in, number one, directing traffic, making sure you're standing out. You got to know. I told you truly, my CMO's on this call. Corey's on this call. I don't ask them what's my competition doing, but I definitely know where I rank with them by using the tools that Corey and his team at Clixsy taught me how to use. We use them all the time. We know where I rank. I know what my DR score is. I know the traffic I get. I know the grids and where I'm at. If you don't know that, I'm sure Corey and his team will give you a free analysis on that. And if you want it, they could tell you what to type in the chat. But it's very helpful to know where your team is. The question about, I'm just going to rattle off a few answers here before we move on, Corey, about having my COO handle the on-camera stuff. David Rosen asked, dude, I don't care who you have on camera, right? As long as that person is compelling and interesting. One of my things, everybody on this call scrolls. At some point during the week, you're scrolling on these idiot devices. What makes you stop? Just think about it. You pass through 10 things until you stop and watch a video, 10 things before you stop and read something. What catches your eye? I think about that all the time before I give a speech on a stage, before I do something. I think about that. And you should think about it too, because if you're making boring drivel content sitting at your desk talking about things to do after an accident, nobody's watching that shit. Nobody. It's garbage. But who's ever on camera, yeah, has to have some charisma. I have a fireproof client who I'm not going to mention, who's real boring on camera, and they keep putting him on there, and I keep telling his team, don't do that, because it's really boring. You guys know what's boring and what's not boring. Don't be boring. And I know one of my fireproof clients is using a AI avatar he cloned himself. He types in a script and he says it. And he says it's 97% looks like him. People who really know him say it's not. That is the future. That is going to be happening. Trudy, if I'm in Park City hiking with Corey and Trudy wants to put out an ad on social media, she's going to be able to type what I say. My avatar is going to come up and she could dress me any way she wants. And I'm going to say it and she's going to post it. That's this year.
Yeah.
So I would not worry about, I wouldn't worry about that too much. Nick asked about my success attributing to community outreach efforts. I like that question, and I'll tell you why. We don't track it. We don't track how many cases came in through backpacks or dog events, because that's not why I do it. When somebody calls me and says, how many cases am I going to get if I give away 5,000 backpacks? I say, yeah, you probably shouldn't do the backpacks. You're not doing it with the right reason. Your heart has to be in it. You have to be altruistic. You have to say, I'm doing this to love my community. But of course, good things happen when you love your community. Good things come back, but you can't rely on it. You can't count on it. If you're going to spend $5,000 or $10,000 as an event, you're doing it to give back to the community, not to guarantee you sign up cases. But I'll tell you, as a side note, after doing all this for 10, 12 years, good things happen. When people show up at my events, we'll get 200 to 400 5-star reviews. God, Mike is a good guy. Thanks for the dog. Thanks for the backpacks. It just happens organically. Sometimes we'll run contests and people will follow us on social media or whatever, but you got to have a big heart and be able to do it. But it's definitely a great way to get your name out there, to get 5 stars. And
yeah,
it just works.
Yeah, it's been tremendous. We got another question from Joel. He says, the human connection with clients at any scale seems to be one of your strongest selling points. Aside from commercials, what marketing channels gave you the best return early on?
It's a great question. Trudy can chime in if she wants. Early on, I mean, I think that our SEO was strong, which drives people to our website, right? The form fills are always strong. Did Trudy chime in?
She said, agree with SEO.
Yeah.
I think I can enable her to.
She doesn't want to come on. She may not have, her makeup might not be perfect. Kidding, Trudy. I don't think she wears makeup. So anyway, so yeah, SEO. Listen, we all forget and take advantage of our web. Take not advantage. Take for granted our websites, and it's the cornerstone of everything you do. Even though you don't think people are looking at it or going to it, everybody is going to it. They're looking at your reviews. They're looking at. I think one of our busiest pages is our staff, right, Corey?
The you know what, this is actually an interesting topic. If you go into Mike's, well, any law firm, but if you go into Mike's analytics, the number one most visited page is actually your profile, your bio, and that holds true with every law firm I go to.
My personal bio?
Your bio and your attorneys.
Interesting.
People are wanting to know who's representing them. And we discovered that about 4 years ago. And that's why when we redid your website, that's why we started designing your bios like a landing page where we include rich media and stuff about you as a person and so on.
Right. I've seen that you and Trudy do that. When we have a big case, they'll put it on the front page, right? When I got my big verdict last year, that was on the front page. Corey and Trudy talk every week to mess with and make my website better, to make the SEO better, to look at the rankings and make sure that we're staying up there. I, for some reason, get emails about my speed of my website and my grade of my website. And if it's not 100% and if it drops to a B or something, I text Corey and he says on it, fixes it within an hour. Everybody on this call, you should have the same intensity with your vendors, whoever they are. If you're not sure if your vendors are good, you're with the wrong vendors. If you're not talking to your vendors often, you're with the wrong vendors. And I'm not just talking for SEO, whether you're with PPC vendors or any type of vendors. Trudy is on constant meetings with these people, holding them accountable to make sure that the traffic is right. How much are you spending on PPC? How much are you spending on SEO? Are you opening up new locations? Is your LSA, hitting on all cylinders? Because it's super important. And you should absolutely take me up on asking Corey and his team to do a comparison with your 5 competitors in your market. It's fascinating and mind-blowing, and he can have it to you within 24 hours. Says I got a question here from Nick Paul, Corey.
Yeah, Nick, that's actually a really good question. So Nick's asking, how important is it to supplement your SEO with PPC, email, and organic social? And I would tell you candidly, Nick, that if you'd asked me this same question a year ago, I would have given you the exact opposite answer. I would have said, I would have given some importance to building an email list because I do think that's valuable. I operate off of a concept I call own the racetrack, which what that means is simply that if you build everything on Google or everything on Facebook, you're at the mercy of that third party. They could decide to zuck you one day where you lose your Facebook group but if you build an email list, that's an asset you own. So other than that, I would have kind of told you that organic social is just sort of a nice to have. It makes it look like the lights are on. But with the advent of AI, we're shifting from an ecosystem where Google used to simply serve up information. All it did was give it to you, and it was your job to curate it and synthesize what you wanted out of it. AI is flipping that on its head. Now what's happening is, whether you're looking at Chat, GPT, or Perplexity, or what have you, Gemini, they're taking into consideration the totality of your body of content. It knows not only how many reviews you have on Google, but how many you have on Yelp and Facebook and Avo and Super Lawyers. It knows whether you've had a history of a lot of negative reviews or not. It's able to take in all of it all at once and then curate and synthesize a summary. And so I think, and I've been talking to Trudy and other clients about this, we're going to have to shift from being publishers on our websites to being syndicators to the entire web. And you're touching upon a thing that the SEO community is literally right now trying to solve and figure out. Nicole asked, does AI optimization rely heavily on our SEO results? Absolutely. At that Park City mastermind that Mike referenced, I had one of the lawyers I spoke with ask me, he said, listen, you guys do a great job. I can tell you've done a great job for Mike. I'll just be candid with you. I just don't know if SEO matters anymore. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because what's now happening, SEO, how you show up, is the source layer that AI is pulling from. That's where it's curating the results. If you don't show up in the top 5, you don't even have a chance of showing up in AI overviews or Gemini. And when we start looking at the ChatGPT and Perplexity, they're pulling from a variety of sources. They're pulling from Bing, they're pulling from Yelp, they're pulling from your social media. And so, yeah. And Bill, could I explain syndicator? Sure. What I mean by that is we need to diversify where we're publishing all of our content. We need to move from what in the past, what's largely been the best practice has just been published to your blog, published to your website, and maybe you also sprinkle a little bit out to your Facebook page, your some of your social media channels, but they were really a second consideration. And so what we're now working on is figuring out how we can build really robust syndication out to all the potential places that your prospective clients are hanging out and where AI is going to pull from as a primary source. That might mean Reddit. That might mean the social media channels. It might mean niche forums where people are talking about, things related to your industry. I think it's probably in the case of law firms, it's probably going to start including the big directory sites like Avo and Super Lawyers. So a syndication simply means publishing on multiple places all at once.
We got a question about attribution, Corey. It's the super important, right? Like what's working, what's not working. How much is a lead costing you? How much is it costing you? For everything you do, we're all doing different things to get cases. You're buying leads, you're spending money on SEO, you're spending money on clicks, you're spending money on direct mail or other stuff. I don't know how easy it is for Trudy to hop on.
She's on, and
here.
I'll tee up this conversation. I'd love to hear Trudy's response, because I remember it must have been 4 or 5 years ago. I remember you coming to me saying, Mike has asked me to figure out where all our cases are coming from. And I think I said to you, we will still be talking about this in 5 years.
And we are.
So everybody, this is Trudy. She's my CMO, been with me for how many years, Trudy?
This year will be 11. I'm trying to
Yes,
find my camera. I guess I can't find it. I can find my mic though, so at least we got that.
Every time I come up with a harebrained idea, how to get more cases or how to get back to the community, I give it to Trudy. She executes it and makes it happen. The attribution, we have been working on this for a long, long time. I don't even know what she's going to say to this answer, but like how close are we to perfect attribution, which I know is impossible because, ladies and gentlemen, 855 Mike wins, right? I have billboards. They then Google my number again because people aren't overly smart sometimes. And they find my website and they click my website, they do a form fill. How do you attribute that to the billboard? How do you know if the billboards are working? How do you know if the TV commercials are working? So Trudy, answer that long-winded question.
Yeah, so you hit on it. What you just said is, so we do a lot of TV, radio, billboard, where we're getting direct calls. So there is a percentage of our leads that we will not have attribution on. But when they do fill out a form, for instance, we use UTMs to track them. And so we are figuring out what they clicked on to get to us through those UTMs. We also use CallRail if it's a phone call, but those are big ways that we are able to get attribution on our leads, is through using UTMs, using CallRail. But yeah, we're never going to have perfect attribution. It is not going to be a thing. We continue to, promote our brand, and that's what's going to happen. And we're just okay with it. One thing we do always do is our intake is asking, how did you hear about us? So we're learning how they learned about our brand through that. And then we have another source being automatically populated through those UTMs and CallRail setup that is pulling in how they actually contacted us, whether it be through a GBP listing or an LSA or a find law directory listing. That's actually pulling in how they contacted us and reached out to us.
Yeah. If anybody has any questions for Trudy in the last few minutes of this webinar, feel free to put it on there. One of the benefits of coaching and Fireproof Masterminds is you get access to all of my executives. So if you're having a problem with your CFO, you talk to my CFO. If you're having problems with your COO, you talk to my COO, or our COOs meet. If you need a chief marketing officer and you don't know how to hire one or what they should do, you talk to Trudy. And I have 10 other executives, including HR and everything else in between. That's part of your membership fee. You get to talk to all of these people, and you get to meet amazing vendors at our conferences. We just did a bunch of days. We did a whole week in Park City, which was just amazing. Those were our masterminds. If you're not in a mastermind, you absolutely should be in masterminds. I've learned the most collaborating with other law firm owners around the country. We do coaching, which is mostly quarterlies. We also have a coach with you every single week in your meetings to make sure that you're running your meetings, you're showing up to your meetings. We give you software to run them well. We do 2 live summits a year. It's coming up in September in beautiful sunny Detroit, my favorite month, over my birthday this year. And we also have a conference this year, our first annual conference for anybody. You don't have to be a Fireproof client. It's on the QRL code there that says conference. We'd love to have you there and participate and hear me talk and others, other industry experts. We have some national speakers. There's some law firm owners from around the country that have huge firms, big names that are going to come and share and network with, and are going to, I get national firms to come and they meet people and they refer cases to law firm owners. I'm not going to drop any names, but there's big national firms who are always looking for smaller firms to send cases to, and all you gotta do is ask. There's a free tip for you right there. All you gotta do is ask. And if you don't know them, ask for an introduction, but it's a really, really good thing to do. The Fireproof clients who are in our groups, Corey, were they happy last week in Park City?
What I heard consistently was that the mastermind format was far and away their favorite thing they've attended. They were texting and calling others, being like, "Get your ass out here. You missed out."
Yeah, it's growing very, very fast. We started in January. I think we have 50 firms in our masterminds already. And we have, God knows how many in the coaching program. But so coaching is different than masterminds. If you want more information, get the QR code below. I'll hop on a call with you if you'd like. The conferences in September 11th and 12th this year. It's going to be epic. And the last QR code is for Corey and Clixsy, and they do a great job. That's all I can say about them. Thank you, Corey, for putting on this webinar and,
you.
you know, giving us an opportunity to talk about all these great things, which, you know, I'd love to talk about.
Thank you so much, Mike. I always appreciate hearing your insights and if we didn't get to a particular topic that you were hoping to cover, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to either send you a personal Loom video elaborating on it, or get on a call on Zoom and take a look at it, at what you got going on. Joel had a question about syndicating. That probably feels like something that would take me 10 or 15 minutes to really dive into, but I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. And anybody who wants to get a hold of me, feel free to reach out, email me, mike@855mikewins.com. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm posting twice a week regularly. Love to see you on there. And hope to meet you in person one day.
Yeah, in Detroit. And if you're ever in Salt Lake, hit me up. I'll take you on some epic hikes.
Make sure you have proper shoes.
That's for sure.
Thanks,
All right.
Corey.
Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
everybody.
Appreciate everyone.